Don't mind if we do this live, do you?
Nope.
Cool.
Are we allowed to swear just before we?
Yeah, we'll cut it. Don't worry about it. This is just live. The video is going to come out later on at some point. Okay. It's going to be on YouTube, but we usually like pause and stuff.
So that means I'll be an influencer.
Is that a thing? I don't understand.
No.
I see we're matching the black tops today, so that's kind of
fun.
Exactly. Things are good. You know, it's been an interesting year.
Interesting.
You work with e-commerce agencies, so you know what the world looks like right now.
Yeah, I just did I know that you know this because we'd gone back and forth, but I did that event last week. I've just uploaded the stuff in YouTube. Actually, I'll send you the link. But the panel discussion was like a 45-minute panel discussion, and we talked about.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, it was great. I don't know if you know Darren, the founder of
I do. I have many times enjoyed some cocktails with the man.
Yeah, he is a real character. He's a really good friend of mine, actually. And I said, like, I'm not really good at all that stuff. So I said, like, is there any chance you'd be happy to host this? And any excuse for him to be a showman, he's like, I'm there.
He's good people, and I've been to his things, and we've been friends for a long time too.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
It's a good time.
Yeah, interesting though. It's interesting just hearing. You know, I've worked with like one-on-one with over 50 agencies the last couple of years, but consulted with hundreds.
Yep.
And just seeing that difference, like my business is now 2 years old, doing what I'm doing now as an agency consultant. But the first year of doing it versus the second year has been, it's like a different set of challenges, different set of problems. I wasn't having conversations around employee development, leadership. Like I wasn't having those kind of conversations a year ago. I was having conversations about the sales process, delivery process, messaging, positioning, retainer models. That was my whole world. And now I'm like talking about like all the feels and the warm and cuddly and like all the fluffier stuff. It's different.
Yeah. I know we're going to do at some point, you and I need to talk about retainers, and we have a special way of working too. So it is one of my favorite things to talk about.
Same.
Yeah, we're very particular how we do ours. And I guess we're going to do another podcast, I guess, on yours or ours or whatever we want to talk about this. But today we want to talk about paid discovery. We are big fans. We've been working like that for a very long time. It is still one of the hardest things to sell as an agency or a consulting firm. You know, you ran your own e-commerce shop at some point too, right?
I was COO of a big plus agency in London. Yeah, I ran that for a couple of years.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Like what's your opinion, obviously, on paid discovery, you know, why sort of clients should actually do it and not, you know, in better words, poo-poo it all the time.
Yeah, I know it's a really weird one because for me, I mean, the analogy that I always like to use when I'm working with agencies or talking, I mean, we talk about paid discovery a lot, but for me, it's just like I attribute a paid discovery just to having a contractor come into my house to fix something. If I had a contractor come into my house, so I'm getting some work done on my kitchen. If I had, you know, I live in Spain, so the guy's name is Manuel. If I had Manuel come into my kitchen and just look at the kitchen and kind of measure it up and say, yeah, it's going to cost you like 10,000 euros, I would feel a bit nervous at the fact that he just put a number at that and wanted to get it. Like that would make me feel nervous versus getting somebody in who will come in and do due diligence and map it all out and do a prototype of what the kitchen is going to look like and do computer generated images and then give me an actual cost based on what I'm looking for and allow me to look at those costs and be like, oh shit, that's twice the money that I was expecting, but I'm getting exactly what I want. And then allowing me to choose, well, I'm going to cut it a bit here and I'm going to trim a bit here and I'm going to take this money here and move it over to there so I can make it better. And I feel like I'm more in control of the decision. I feel like I have more of a choice.
Yeah, what's the, you know, it's very frustrating on I guess this time where we've gone against, you know, other agencies and they have a 40-minute conversation with somebody and just throw a price out and knowing that's just wrong. Like it's a wrong, not only it's going to be a wrong price, it's just for me is wrong to do that to the client. Like what's the, you know, a client gives you an RFP or a client just asks for a price. Like what's the this side of us, like what do you say to a client saying, you know, exactly what you described with the kitchen work, but what's the battle there? Like, clients want that price and want that number, but is it just because we know it's going to be wrong, or is it just like because we need to just sell and not go, we're consultants, this is what we do?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, I think that you shouldn't be giving quotes to somebody ever anyway, unless you know what their budget are. So I think that when the people that do that, I think it's per sales practice, and they're just trying to sell rather than consult. At the end of the day, from an agency perspective, we're here to help the brand get what they need. So by taking the easy route and saying, okay, these are your requirements, I'm just going to throw a quote at you. Now, there are some instances where you will have brands where they send you an RFP and then you just have to quote it, and then you just hope that you're somewhere in the ballpark.
Yeah.
But good sales practice, you should understand, you should go into that phone call. Before you even have a phone call, you should know what their expectations are in terms of their timeline, in terms of their budget, and roughly what they're looking for. Because then, from a consultative point of view, you can tailor what the recommended solution is going to be based on their budget. So it doesn't come down to budget as much as it is what they want and how that fits into what they're willing to spend or what they're willing to invest. So to me, the agencies that do that practice, almost always, from the hundreds of agencies that I have consulted with, almost always they are agencies that do not ask for budget up front or have no idea of budget. They're just guessing.
Right.
Which I think is bad. I think that's bad form.
It's like my first question.
Exactly. I think you should. Yeah, I think you should. I think you should automate that to make it less awkward. But at the end,
it doesn't have to be right. It shouldn't be a first question, but in the line of questioning, you should definitely ask that. How would you have an agency handle when a client goes, why should I pay for a discovery? Like, you should just do this work anyway. Like, this is what you're bidding on. Like, if a client goes, well, I don't want to pay for this whole thing.
Depends on what the discovery looks like, doesn't it? If you're going to give somebody a discovery that's just a quote, then yeah, why would I pay for a quote? Mm-hmm. My idea of a discovery is much more hands-on. My idea of discovery is doing actual workshops, a series of workshops with people. Because really what you want to do is you want to see if what they're looking for, like expectation matches reality, and if you actually want to work with that client. So it depends on how you're handling the client. And I'd say on the back of the pandemic, that's become even more important. Working that client through the process and hand-holding them, and then getting to see the different people in your team that they're going to be dealing with. Investing in that process is much more value for money than paying somebody $5,000 and then getting a proposal on the end. Like, that's a shit experience. The customer experience perspective, that is shit.
Yeah, ours is minimum 6 to 8 weeks with like 400 pages of documentation and things like that, and a price. So it's heavy-handed. It's not for everybody, which is absolutely
heavy-handed. That's the wrong word, Bart. It's comprehensive.
We're sumo heavy, so it's heavy-handed.
Okay, fair. I'll take it.
Ours is, to be fair, we actually don't call it discovery. Discovery is part of our process. We call it sumo heavy weigh-in. So
nice. That's
we
cute.
do play. One of my friends, who's been in the agency world forever, he consults sort of like you do with just agencies, like not just e-commerce ones, but we've been talking about it, and he suggested to change the name and don't call it discovery because of the reasons of pitching, like make it a special thing. Mm-hmm. And it took us forever, and it was accidental. We're like, wait a minute, sumo heavy weigh-in is just like a perfect term for it, mm-hmm. because it's like it's our weighing in on the problem you're having, right? Besides the sumo thing, it's all of a sudden it's our actual interpretation of the problem and helping you solve it. So it became a fun thing, and it works for us. But discovery is part of that process. I think it has to be like extrapolate it from everything you do to actually, because we've had clients where we've done a discovery or our sumo heavy weigh-in, and they got a whole thing. And we did a startup like that, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna go try to raise money for this, but we can't, move longer." So now you spend 2 months with a client and they can't go on, but we still did the work. So I think pay discoveries is very important. It's getting,
it's due diligence. It is due diligence.
It's due diligence, but also like you wouldn't build a house without, blueprints and those kind of things. And people got to get, I feel like doing something for free like that doesn't give the full effort of the whole team. Just doesn't.
No, and I think you're making assumptions, and the reality is, I've been in the agency world long enough, as have you. No two businesses the same,
No.
unless you have which some agencies do, and they do it really well. Unless you have a productized, standardized, out of the box, plug and play. This is the theme. This is what you get. This is the numbers. This is how much time it's going to take, and this is how much money you're going to spend. And you've really refined that, so it's an actual product. And I have some agencies that do that pretty well for that type of customer. Now, the reality is that type of customer, you're not going to have a high conversion rate into retainers because they want something cheap and dirty.
Right. And it's usually the smaller ones. Like we do a lot of custom work with clients in the back end, and it's very, very, very comprehensive. Gotcha there. And it's definitely different. So we can't just cookie cutter this stuff. And it's unfair and disservice to the client.
I think it's a disrespect to where they're at in their business that you would assume that you could just put a blanket number on something and hope that that covers it. Because the reality is, what's going to happen? You're going to start that project, all of this stuff. Clients, things change all the time. There's a lot of moving pieces, the different technologies. The reason the client is coming to an agency who are an expert is because we have insight into how all those technologies talk to each other and interact. So once they change one decision, that could impact 3 or 4 things. They're working with us because we know that and they don't. But if we don't take the time to really get under the hood of all those moving pieces, we can't inform them. So you get into a project, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, now we need to change everything. We're gonna have to rebuild this entire part of the website because you actually wanted your shipping cart to connect and talk this way to your ERP or whatever. But they don't know that. So we're then, by putting just a blanket, oh, that'll cost 40K, putting a blanket number on something, hoping that's going to work. It's a massive disservice.
It's will double the cost. We've seen it over and over and over, and we've lost clients because of that kind of stuff. And they'll come back and they're like, "Oh my God, can you guys do it?" And we're like, the worst conversation is, "Can you guys do it?" And we already spend the money. Can you discount it?
You didn't spend the money with me. You spent it with someone else. So no. Just out of interest, then let me ask you a wee question. How do you price your discoveries?
We have standard pricing. Pretty much. We played around with a whole bunch of different things. We kind of go off our retainer model. Ours are 6 to 8 weeks, start about $15,000 a month. I mean, $15,000 for the whole thing. We've done shorter, we've done a lot longer. And they go, different ways. It just depends. Between $15,000 and $20,000 are ours, and that's usually a 2-month project for us. It's very specific. We go multiple calls, they're recorded, they transcribe, if it's code review, we do code reviews on top of it, consulting. So we definitely have a process on everything, but we also go deep down in the business side of it, technology, process. Do you have it? Can we help you with process? Because we're very all into process. We kind of get backtrack a lot of stuff from the client, sometimes from the client going, well, I don't want to do this. I just want to get going. And we're like, no, you have to go through this process because it's going to make it faster later. Yes, we're going to slow you down right now, but it's definitely going to be faster. Right. And that's always the crazy part where clients do that to us, where they're like, I just want to get in there and do it. And we're like, it's not going to work. Like, we don't know what's under the hood whatsoever.
And it is guesswork. It literally is
so much guesswork.
Yeah.
And like you said, like two different, you can have 2 t-shirt companies and they're going to work completely different, right? You're like, say they're on Shopify, both are on Shopify, but their backend systems are different. Some of them are manual processes. Like, there's so many things that we can uncover and do a lot of work with a client. And it's not that like, oh, we're going to have a long-term client, but like for us, it's just important to help them get to where they need to, because this whole business is margin, right? So how can we make that margin a lot bigger? That's it. I mean, this whole business is margin.
It is absolutely. And the thing is, as an agency, you're the one that takes the hit when things go wrong. That's the reality. And you're never going to convert a client over to ongoing work if you've shit the bed during the project and you've quoted them it's going to be one amount. I have agencies where it's like they're adding an extra 20, 30, 40% at the end of the project for stuff they didn't scope for at the start. So then how do you expect to go to the client at the end? You're like, the way I charge you an extra 40%, I'd also like you to commit to a 12-month contract as well for us to help you. And they're like, well, we just spunked all that budget on your extra 40% that we didn't want in the first place, or we didn't want to spend.
Yeah. So we will price it. So it's funny because we will do our weigh-in, and that's a certain price. And in the weigh-in, we're like, it's going to cost you this much a month because we run a monthly retainer. That's it. So sometimes it's a project where we're like, listen, it's going to take 6 months to build, and it's going to be this a month. And then we can reconvene see if you guys need more work, less work. We can, lower the retainer a month or higher it. And then the beauty for us though is, even if say project is scheduled for 6 months and the client takes their time, or, it's just stuff happens, we can go, it just extends, right? And it's the same price. They know exactly what's going to happen next month. On the 7th month, it's the same price for the next month. It's kind of like all of a sudden we made it easy to figure out if they slow down exactly what happens to it. Because that happens, right? It's not only our fault, but client will slow it down, or something happens to the client, or we pause it. And the way we figured out how to do that is like, all right, let's do a monthly retainer and just keep on going. And then converting a client into a maintenance and work because e-commerce is living, breathing thing is easy from there.
It's so much easier. And I think that means that when you're in the project and clients, which always happens, clients want more stuff and more ideas. But then you just park it, you pop it in the bank then for post-launch, and you basically built your retainer from there. That's the easiest way.
Yeah, we're also very flexible. So say like we're in the middle of build and a client goes, oh my God, I forgot about this, or this is launching. We're like, okay, well, we can adjust it. It's going to just, we have to slot something in, but we're extended.
It's going to cost more.
Well, I mean, it's just we're saying for whatever that is. If you want to slot it in here, that's great. We'll just adjust our timelines and things we need to do. But it's an easier conversation that way. I don't have to recalculate anything. It's like, hey, listen, it's probably going to be an extra month. They know what the price is without even us saying it. You know what I mean?
So that's how you do your pricing then. You have weekly rates and then you monthly rates.
One monthly rate as a retainer for the whole thing, for everybody, for the company itself.
And the projects.
Yeah, it depends on the client how much. It's based on level of effort. It's not based on hours. It's based on effort for the team that's working on it. And that includes clients because they're an important part of the thing. So we determine in the way, in a lot of times we'll determine how fast things work and how fast we can work together. And then it's our job to be as efficient as possible for it. And that's kind of how we determine. Now we started, now we're going to retainer things, but we started, I just threw a number at the wall and then we went backwards. And then it's just a flat fee every single month. It is then over the years, we figure out how to actually make that a thing. And we don't base it on hours. We track hours internally because we want to be as efficient as possible. But what that does is it doesn't punish us if we work faster. But it's
exactly which is the problem with the time and material model, because the better you get, the less you earn. You may as well just hire a bunch of idiots to take 10 times the amount of time to do something.
Correct.
And you would make way more money.
So for us, it's also it's helping. Then we become a true partner because we become a department. Client knows their monthly spend. It's a fixed cost all of a sudden. They know when we go up and down. Like it changes the whole conversation and how we do stuff. It's hard to sell a lot of times, but clients who know what that is, they love it because they've done both, right? And they know what to get with us. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, that does make it a lot cleaner. What happens then if a client, I mean, I know we're dipping our toes into the retainer world.
Let's do it. We're there now.
We're already there. We're in retainer land. This is my happy place. So what happens then if a client wants extra? So you have a set
other projects, we can raise that retainer.
Okay.
It's
so you have a base rate.
Yep. We have a language in our contracts that it's reassessed every single month. Our retainers are month to month. We have clients who are yearly contract because they're bigger and the procurement has to do it, but we have month to month contracts with us. We've done, a discount on 6 months or a year or whatever that is, but they are usually month to month and we reassess them. The beauty of it is the process, how it works is our project managers, they know what to do with it if it's too much. Now, am I leaving money on the table sometimes? Yes. Is the client paying sometimes more? Sure. But if we kind of even it out over a stretch of things, it's just beautiful. It just works. Unless the client goes, hey, I have another project. Can you do it? And we do that all the time with them.
Okay. And you would do that side by side or as part of the retainer?
Part of retainer. We just go, hey, it's going to cost you an extra $5,000 a month over 6 months or whatever that is. Or they just keep it. Like we had a literally client that raised their retainer every single month because they needed that much work more. Like every month it went up an extra five because they're like, we need more stuff from you. So eventually a year later, we're like, well, I'll just sign a yearly contract for this big and let's go. And they're like, okay.
At least then you can resource around it, because the resourcing is often the hardest bit when you have clients and you do such a good job for it. Like resourcing is the pain.
Yep. So you have to think of our resourcing like a fractional type of resourcing, meaning that every single person works on every single project here. And we only run about 8 to 12 clients at a time. And the beauty of that is somebody goes on vacation, somebody's sick, you need a front end person for that week, you need a back end. Like we can move around. It depends what happens. This is the whole planning and moving around is all on us. And I want that on us because I'd rather be in charge of that.
Totally. That has to be your responsibility. You can, if you throw that back at the hand of the client, it'll be like herding cats.
Kind of. So the fun exception of that is we have a lot of clients that we're part of the team internally. So we work with a client, with the internal team, and we're like the knowledge base. We do the process with them. We help them with the process, but we work with the client team, with the developers internally and stuff like that, and be that knowledge base. And that works brilliantly a lot of times, especially in the bigger companies, because once you prove yourself in one department and you work on a retainer model like we do, then getting into other departments is so easy because they start recognizing that you're there. And that's so much fun. You're on mute.
Sorry. That's my idea of hell, being on mute. I'm sure my husband would love a mute button for me. Never going to happen, Steve. Dream on.
Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, sorry. No, but then you're then considered a legitimate part of their business. They see you as an extension of their team. You're basically baked into that. And it means that if you have team members then that are off, you can then bounce between people to pick up the work. Yeah,
to a point where we were on an org chart one time for a client.
Really?
Yep.
I feel like, the work that I do with agencies, I'm on a couple of org charts with a few agencies, and like putting the money to one side, there's nothing more that brings you more pride.
Oh, it was
that they see you as part of their company.
Yep. It was insane. We were there for about 3.5 years and they got sold. This is the weirdest story. We were in our kickoff meeting. In the middle of the kickoff meeting, they were getting sold. We knew that. The money came through being sold in the middle of our kickoff meeting. Talk about like scary moment, right? We were there for 3.5 years after that. At some point, we knew more about the infrastructure and everything that goes on than anybody internally. That's how like deep down we can get into. And this allows us to do it because then you're just part of that team. You're part of that work. And as long as you work great and deliver all the time, to us, that's like bar none amazing. Because a lot of people go for like, well, you're leaving money on the table. I'm like, am I? When you have a client for 7-8 years and they're been around us for so long and we build everything with them and they love it. And then you have clients go to other places and go, yep, we're ready for you. Let's go. We need you.
But I think that's a testament also to the way that you've built your pricing model, because if you built your pricing or your retainer, your monthly model, it's not based on time and materials. It's in there for value and there's contingency. Because I think if you are, the work that I do with agencies, I effectively am an extension of their team. I'm like a non-executive ops director, interim COO, that sort of high level strategic role. If I was to go back, if they're paying me a certain amount every month, if I was to go back to each agency and say, you owe me for this, you owe me for that, that's not in scope, that's not in scope, I would never have to take on another client again for years until I started churning. because they would stop coming to me with stuff. They would stop asking me questions every time they had a problem. They would stop seeing the value in me because they would just see me as a number. And I'm not in business for that reason. If I was in business just to make money, you could do a million things and make money super quick.
And I think that's hourly does that, right? Like, I think it's such an old school way of thinking about things, and you can't expand. Like, for us, we've been like this for 7 years now, perfecting it over the years. We're 11 years old.
God, you don't look a day over 10.
Thanks. We're 11 in May.
Congrats.
But over the years, you kind of get into this mode. Like, for us, it became it's like a little pride for us, because I know where my business model looks like. I know what my year kind of looks like automatically in January. The way we bill is fun too, is, because you get access to all of us, we get paid on like tomorrow is payday for April. April 1st is for April. Like, that's how we get paid. So your typical retainer model, we don't do, over that. We have some special circumstances, but we have that worked out. But other than that, it's nice. And also, once we get a client, I put it into our billing system. I never look at it again. It goes out, it goes in. I know it's in, right? So now I don't spend every end of the month trying to figure out what the hours look like, ever. And that just makes it easier. It makes it less stressful. It's easier. It's automatic for us. You know what I mean? Like, it also takes away the financial sort of conversations from the project managers all the time, which I think is a detriment a lot of times. Like, our project managers are our technical directors and strategy people. Like, they're amazing. And they know when they're like, hey, Bart, we need to have a conversation with the client because they're way over, right? But they know what the thresholds are, like the feeling of it, what's getting overworked. They look at everything. But we have those conversations. But I also talk to them every day, all day long. So it's kind of.
Of course. I just sort of interested, like, at what stage did you bring pay discovery in as a mandatory part of your process? For a lot of agencies I know, it's through pain that they then realize that pay discovery has got to be the way to go.
Every piece of how we work is through pain.
Okay, that's agencies, right? That's being in an agency.
The reason we switched this business model, because we were hourly when we started and got really screwed over majorly, where I almost closed the business completely.
Wow.
We got screwed over from $100,000 when we were young, and there's a whole story about that. And I wanted to change it, and we went to biweekly billing, week ahead, like all the bucket of hours, all those things, and eventually we got here. Pay discovery was in the middle somewhere in there. And I don't remember where I got it from. Either Kai Davis or I know, guy from W Freelancing. I always forget. Brent. But that's where I found ways to kind of put that together, right? So like, where all of a sudden I was like, well, I think road mapping has to happen. And that's where like road mapping started things, right? The guys from Neon Root started doing those kind of things. And now it's all road mapping. And I was like, we have to do that. And we got to a point where we were doing it anyway as a thing and not a whole project. And eventually we liked selling just that and just took it apart.
So your discovery process, then you have the big 400 page chunk of work as a deliverable, but you walk them through. You have a creative part, you have a technical part, you have road mapping. Is that kind of how you guys do it?
Yeah, we actually don't do any design. We don't design marketing.
Not even wireframes?
We'll do some of that. That really depends. We either work with internal or we have some friends who do UX and design. We'll do some of the design work after if it's a brand new site. We do a lot of rescues. So for us, it's already done, or there's an internal part of that. So that's why we've never wanted to build that side of our company whatsoever. So it's highly technical for us. But yeah, discovery, technology process, actual like, are you doing your development process internally properly? Those kind of things.
Okay, so you really get under the hood of their business. And you include that over a series of workshops as well, that you walk them through it, because there's no way people can digest a 400-page deliverable.
Yeah, no, right. I say 400 pages. I think our last one was 400 pages because we're helping build a startup. So for a client needed a whole bunch of things. It really depends. Some are code reviews that we need to fix. Some are just walking them. Like one of the workshop is when we start with them to sit down with everybody, go, here's our Jira instance. That's how it works. Here's how you commit things. This is the process. This is how you write stories and all the things. We literally go through a full agile process.
Nice.
So like I said, heavy-handed. It's not even comprehensive. It's very heavy-handed.
It is, but the thing is, the chances of a client doing a discovery piece with you and then not working with you after that are very slim, unless it's just not a good fit, or you've done something as part of the discovery process that they're just like, yeah, this doesn't work.
Yep.
I was just about, are you going to lay hands on me there? Am I about to
No, sorry, I had to fix my camera really quick. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, we've had clients, we've never had a client take it and go somewhere else. I mean, we always say that it's yours to keep. It's your work product. Have fun. We have clients to go, got it, can't pursue that, or they've taken it to raise money, which is always fun.
Do you work with a lot of startups?
Few. We have a few under our belt, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, startups are fun. I come from the startup world. I was in the startup, like doing the whole Silicon Valley, like bullshit bubble, lots of money, nothing to show for it. I was in the AWS world. It's like, I'm a farm girl from out the back arse of nowhere in Ireland, and there's me, cowboy boots and a plaid shirt, and all these guys with Rolexes and private jets, and I'm just like,
yeah, I've been around startup world for a while. I have some friends who are in it, have some friends who are, VCs. It's just I like building my own thing. So we kind of try to avoid it. We like building it for stuff. We try not to own pieces of it. Kind of our own thing. We're like the weirdos.
It's the best way to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's tons of M&A going on in e-commerce world too. Tons of agencies, tons of just getting bought up like crazy.
Yeah, I've got 2 agencies in my group right now going through that. 2 agencies going through it, and 1 agency buying another agency. It's pretty savage right now.
Yes, it definitely is, and I understand why, because hiring right now is absolutely insane too. So since we're kind of coming up close, one last question for you.
Go for it.
Questions, but one, what is the last thing you bought online?
I don't want to answer this out loud because I'm a hypocrite.
Why? Everybody does this. Like, I don't care what it is.
I'm not an online shopper.
You didn't buy anything? What was the last thing?
Okay, the last thing I got on, I'm not really an online shopper. I bought my husband some shirts because he asked me to. He gave me the shirts and asked me to, because his card is in my purse. So that's why. And before that was a diffuser, a room diffuser. Well, what is it, like a mister aromatherapy diffuser? Apparently it was supposed to, like, lavender oils, that it's supposed to make you sleep. It's on my husband's side of the bed and he's sleeping like a baby. So I don't know if it's wafting over my way. But I only got it because it was on an extremely massive discount.
Nice.
I live in an island. I live in Gran Canaria, an island off the coast, a Spanish island off the coast of Morocco. And nothing delivers here. Like, it's one of the few places that, like, Amazon doesn't deliver here. Like, you can't get anything delivered, so you have to find it on the island. I wasn't a big online shopper before, but being here now, it's just like, so there's like 2 or 3 stores that we can actually buy from. Sports Direct is I don't know if you guys have it over in America, but it's a huge store for sports brands, and like, it's amazing. It's my favorite store, and my husband would just give me a list of stuff every 3 months or 6 months. I need this. I need these trousers. I need this. I need to replace this stuff. And I'm like, okay.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
And then the last thing, me, something was on sale. Light bulbs were on sale on Amazon that I want them. And
wow, living life on the edge.
I know. Well, they were like Wi-Fi light bulbs. I kind of needed them. The funny thing is they were on sale, so I bought them this morning from Amazon, and I think they just got delivered. So,
well, because I'm here in Gran Canaria, I mean, I've had stuff.
Totally opposite.
I got Christmas stuff. My clients sent me stuff for Christmas, and I got it last month in February.
That's everybody. That's not just you. That's here too.
Okay, that's fine.
That's just, it's a thing. All right. Well, your turn to plug away all your things. Where people can find you.
Where can people find me? LinkedIn, Rachel Jacobs, or my business, my company name, which I am rebranding, so I probably shouldn't say, but it's Ecommerce Partnerships. It'll bounce over to the new site. But that's where people can find me. I actually run, but let's send you the details over, Bart. I run a monthly roundtable, totally free. There's no sales in there. It's just an opportunity for agency owners to get together and shoot the shit. A bit like the event I did last week. Just agency owners getting together and learning and sharing, and like, to me, that's super important. Not from a business point of view, I just do it because I love it. Facilitating some of those conversations, and you get to meet a few mad bastards as well, like Darren. So that's always worth it.
It's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.